Okay, this is the beginning of Module 3. We are actually not going to start with the workbook quite yet. We are going to learn the basics of equations. So the very first thing with equations is adding and subtracting one-step equations. If you flip through the packet, you'll notice that it goes to multiplying, dividing, then it goes to two-step equations, and then it ends with actually some really complicated equations, but no fear, you will be able to do this by the end of the packet. Once these few weeks are over, then we will go back to our workbook and we will continue in Module 3. Okay, what is our goal? Our goal in these is to find the value of one whole positive x. Go ahead and write that down. And when I say x, I mean any variable. And the reason I emphasize those words, one whole positive, is because sometimes we'll be given more than one x. Sometimes we'll be given part of an x, and sometimes we'll be given a negative x. So anytime that we see something, we want to know what just that one positive x is. Okay, and how are we going to do that? We are going to get rid of numbers attached to by using inverse operations. Inverse operations, you're going to hear that word a lot. And all that really means is, in the very first example, x plus 4 equals 5, I want to get x by itself, which means I have to get rid of this plus 4. What is the opposite of plus 4? That would be minus 4, and you just used inverse operations even if you didn't know that's what it was called. Okay, so here's what happens a lot of times. When we start equations, a lot of kids tell me, they go, oh, Mrs. Kamek, I already know what x plus 4 equals 5 is. It's 1, because 1 plus 4 is 5. And I go, that's right, good job. But if you are daring, you could flip your packet over to the back, just literally take your packet, flip it all the way over, and you will see some, I guess we could call some of those some scarier problems, where you can't just tell by looking. So it's very important that we learn and understand the fundamentals, you've heard that word before, the basics, on how to solve these really, really easy problems, so that when we get to those more complicated ones, you'll be able to do it. Okay, on the left-hand side, we're going to be doing something called the solve. And on the right-hand side, we're going to be doing something called the check. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to write it there. My bad. You have pencil, though. It's all good. We all make mistakes. The check is for the same problem. In fact, you can even draw a dotted line to kind of separate each of these into two columns. So I'm going to be doing these left-hand side problems with you in the video, all these over here, and then you're going to be doing these ones in class. Okay, so let's start with this one. This one says x plus 4 equals 5. Now, like I said, I actually said the answer already if you were listening. But I want to get x by itself. In order to get x by itself, I have to get rid of plus 4. And we already talked about the opposite of plus 4 is minus 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to put minus 4 directly underneath the plus 4. The reason we do that is because those two will cancel each other out. You know enough about opposites that you know a positive 4 and a negative 4 cancel. When you see the equal sign, think of like a balance or a scale, you know, where you set something on one side and then you have to put something on the other side to kind of counterbalance it. So when you see that, what you have to do is you have to do the same thing to both sides. Always do the same thing to both sides. Okay, so if I did minus 4 on that side, see when I talk about both sides, I'm talking about both sides of the equal sign. Okay, so if I did minus 4 over there, I have to do minus 4 over here. Then we're going to draw kind of like an equal sign to clean it up. So if you notice, plus 4 and minus 4, that cancels. And then I'm left with just x on that side. On the right-hand side, I have 5 minus 4 is 1. Now, again, I know that a lot of you are thinking like, oh my goodness, why are we doing it this way? This is going to take forever. I knew it was 1 a long time ago. Again, you have to trust me that it works quickly for these easy problems, but once you deal with some negatives or some fractions or two steps or multi-steps, it's not going to be that easy. So we have to know, like I said, the fundamentals. Okay, the check is to check our answers. One of my favorite things about equations is that you don't have to hope that you got it right. You get to find out right now if you got it right, because we think the answer is x equals 1. We are going to check our original equation and see if 1 makes that a true sentence. And that's what we're going to do right here. So anytime you see x, you're going to put in 1 because we think that x is 1. So I do 1 plus 4 equals 5. And remember, you get your calculators back, so you probably don't need it for this problem, but for the future ones, feel free to use your calculator. What is 1 plus 4? It is 5. And now we call that balanced or correct, so I know that 1 does make that true. Be careful, 5's not the answer, though. That's just checking it. 5's not the answer. 1 is our answer. Okay, now let's go a little faster on the next one. Okay, the next one is y minus 3 equals 4. We're trying to figure out what y is. Some number minus 3 gives us 4. We want y by itself, so we have to get rid of minus 3. How do we get rid of a minus 3? We're going to add 3, plus 3. So underneath this, put plus 3. And then whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other side of the equal sign. So now underneath the 4, we also have to plus 3. Draw your line. Minus 3 and plus 3 cancel. On the left hand, do you know what I mean when I say left hand? I'm talking about from the equal sign. On the left hand of the equal sign, I'm left with y. And on the right hand side of the equal sign, I'm left with, what's 4 plus 3? 7. Okay, let's check and see if we got it right. Write the original equation, y minus 3 equals 4. Always go back to the original equation. If you've ever played the game telephone, you know that as the sentence goes around in a circle, it gets a little mixed up each time another step is taken. And that's just how math is. You just have a better chance of making a mistake the more steps that you do. So always start with that original equation. So y minus 3 is 4. I think that y is 7, so I'm going to put 7 minus 3 is 4. Is that true? What is 7 minus 3? Yes, it is 4. So 4 is equal to 4, and that's my check to say that I did get it right. I'm double checking that 7 makes that equation true, and it does. Okay, you try this one on your own. At least try setting it up on your own. Pause it, try it, see how you do. Okay, did you subtract 8 from both sides? Because I want the s by itself. Remember the plus 8 minus 8. I'm trying to get that to go away so that I just have s, or my variable, on one side. And what's 9 minus 8? 1. Okay, now we double check it. S plus 8 equals 9. I think s is 1. Is 1 plus 8 equal to 9? It sure is. So I'm confident that that's my answer. And that's all there is to it when it comes to one-step equations. Okay, try the next one on your own. Did you add 6 to both sides of the equal sign? Minus 6 and plus 6 cancel. N, the variable, is equal to 3 plus 6, which is 9. Okay, let's see if it's 9. What is 9 minus 6? It is 3, so it is balanced. Okay, now in class you're going to do these ones on the right-hand side. So we're actually going to turn the page and continue on the left-hand side now. Okay, on the left-hand side, if you notice, we are starting to deal with some negative numbers. So each time that we do a new step, might stay easy for a long time, and that's great. But if you notice, little by little, they're just going to keep getting more complex. So the first page was like the easiest examples, and now we're going to deal with some that have negatives. Same exact process, though. I want x by itself, so I have to get rid of negative 7. Okay, how do I get rid of a negative 7? Plus 7. I got to do the same thing to both sides. Make sure you have it written twice. Okay, so I'm left with x equals whatever negative 2 plus 7 is. Don't forget your integer rules. But again, you are able to use your calculator now, and that is equal to 5. Okay, now do the check. So we solve on the left and check on the right. So x minus 7 is negative 2. That one might have been a little harder. If you were trying to come up with the answer without showing the steps, that one might have been a little trickier because you're thinking of a number that you take away 7 and you end up with a negative. And we think that answer is 5. So what is 5 minus 7? You can do it in your calculator, but you also know that 5 plus negative 7, it is negative 2. Very good. Okay, this next one is tricky. M plus 8 equals negative 11. If you subtract 8 from this side, you have to subtract 8 from that side. Be very, very careful when you do negative 11 minus 8. It is not negative 3. In fact, don't write this next part down. I want to show you what would happen because a lot of kids are going to think that this is negative 3. If you think it's negative 3, watch what happens on the check. What's negative 3 plus 8? It's positive 5. And now I have a sad face because 5 does not equal negative 11. The answer to this is not negative 3. Okay, if you have been working on your calculator as you've been listening, that's called multitasking. What did you get for negative 11 minus 8? It should be negative 19. Is that what you got? Because now if I plug in negative 19 plus 8 is negative 11. And now I know that I did get the right answer. Okay, why don't you try the last two on your own? Don't get too tricked up on this last one. Try these last two on this page on your own and then unpause it to see how you did. Okay, did you add 4 to both sides here? You would get t equals 3. And let's see, is t minus 4 equal to negative 1? 3 minus 4. If I have $3 and I take away 4, or it's 3 degrees out and then it goes down 4 degrees. Yes, it is negative 1, so my answer is 3. Okay, did you get confused on this last one? Plus 0 minus 0, nothing happens. Negative 8 minus 0, nothing happens. G is actually negative 8. And if you do the check, you'll notice that negative 8 plus 0 is exactly that number, negative 8. And now my two sides are balanced, and I'm right. Okay, so that is an introduction to using some negative numbers with it. I think you could actually do the whole next page on your own. Okay, so again, go ahead and pause it. And I want you to try the whole next page on your own, just the left-hand side. In fact, we're going to do the last page a little slower together because the last page actually has some of the harder problems. So right now, you're only doing these 4 that are right here. Okay, so just do these 4, solve them on the left, check them on the right. Okay, if you're listening to me, that means that you have the solve and the check done for both. I'm going to go ahead and do them pretty quickly. Again, if it's going too fast, pause it and write down what I'm writing down. Okay, and then I'm going to check 57 minus 21, and that is 36, so I am right there. Okay, how'd you do? Did you get 57? Next one, subtract 9 from both sides. Be careful, be careful. Z is negative 36. If you didn't get negative 36, watch very, very carefully on your check because, again, you're using your calculator, and whatever you plugged in, add 9 to it and see what you get. You probably won't get negative 27 if you got the wrong answer. The right answer is negative 36, and I do get negative 27 when I check that one. Okay, I want to get rid of the minus 13, so I plus 13 to both sides. And I get y equals negative 7. And negative 7 minus 13, it's not 6 or negative 6. It is, when you do keep, change, you can see it a little better. It is, in fact, negative 20. Go all the way to this last step, too. A lot of kids say, well, like, this step looks kind of weird to me. Why do we write that? Well, we write it because I want to make sure that you actually did solve this. Okay, some kids just write it and they go, yeah, it's negative 20 without actually solving it. So the reason we do this last step is to actually solve it. Okay, and then the last one there, I subtract 15 from both sides, and then I have negative 8 minus 15, which is negative 23. So negative 23 plus 15. If I double check that, either on a number line, my head, the calculator, I should get negative 8. And I do. So again, I can be confident in that answer. Okay, now the last page we're going to do in this video is page 4. So when you flip over to page 4, what makes these different than the other ones? What makes these different than the other ones? And I have to do something here because this is upside down. So give me a minute and I will fix that. There we go. Thank you for bearing with me. Technical difficulties. You could try starting this one if you think you know what to do. All right, why is this one so weird? I guess weird is the right word. Because the n is on the other side now, but that's okay. We can still do it. We can still do this because, remember, if I want n by itself, I have to get rid of what? This is not on the same side as the n. This one is. So this is what I need to get rid of. Okay, I need to get rid of the negative 8 by adding 8 underneath it. Then remember what I said about the equal sign. You have to do the same thing on the other side of the equal sign. Okay, so we added 8 on the right. We have to add 8 on the left. Now I can draw my line. These cancel. On the left-hand side of the equals, I have 16. And on the right-hand side, don't forget, I still have the n. Okay? So 16 is equal to n. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my check. 8 equals n minus 8. So I think that n is 16, so let's go ahead and plug it in. What is 16 minus 8? It is 8, and that is equal to 8. Good. So my answer isn't 8, though. Remember, my answer is 16. Okay, now what makes the next one tricky? Remember, here's my equals. If you're confused, make sure that you take note of where the equal sign is. Remember, that's the balance. Negative 6 plus a number is 12. What are we are trying to figure out what that number is. I want the h by itself, so I have to get rid of this number. What number is this? It's negative 6. It is negative 6. And I don't want this part to confuse you because we're going to add 6 to get rid of that because the sign in front of it is negative. Okay, we want to do the opposite of whatever that sign is. So since it's negative, I'm going to add 6 to both sides, and h is equal to 18. Now, if you had subtracted 6 and got negative 12, or if you subtracted 6 from the other side and got 6, anything besides 18 will not work when you do the check. So this is why the check is so important. Again, you might think that this is just extra work, and yes, it is extra work, but as the problems get more complex, you'll be able to check your answer better. Okay, so negative 6 plus 18. What is negative 6 plus 18? It is, in fact, 12. Okay, try the next one on your own. Okay, if you are listening to me, that means that you already did 11 equals t minus 13. Did you remember to add 13 to both sides? Okay, this cancels. You can circle it, you can cross it off as long as you're nice and neat, and we can follow your work. And we think it's 24, so 11 equals t minus 13. And I think that t is 24, so when I see t, I'm going to write 24. And 24 minus 13 is 11. I got it right. Okay, and the last one, you can pause it if you want to try it. If not, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. It's our last one of the video. Okay, I want g by itself, so I have to get rid of this number right here. It's a negative 9, so I have to plus 9, and then I plus 9 on the other side of the equals. All right, 4 plus 9 is 13. This goes away, and I'm left with g is 13. Okay, negative 9 plus g. I think g is 13. Is negative 9 plus 13 equal to 4? Negative 9 plus 13, yes it is. And now I am confident in all my answers. Okay, we'll be doing the other side in class.